Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Captain Drone's non-scientific camera drone comparison test. The reason it's non-scientific is because if it was scientific, I would repeat the test multiple times so I could predict the outcome. This is a test of each of these drones having to bring their A game. They get one shot to perform, and well, the results, you're going to see them here. Now, this is the indoor test. There is an outdoor test as well, so if you haven't seen the outdoor test, the link to that is below this video. So for the indoor test, what do we have? We have the DJI Mini 2, very popular drone. Then we have the brand new Autel Evo Nano Plus. This is the best of the nanos. And then we have the drone that came out last year, which was very popular, the Hubsan Zino Mini Pro. Please take note that the DJI Mini 2 is a very basic drone. It doesn't have obstacle avoidance or tracking features. Therefore, for this test, I have turned those features off on the Hubsan and the Autel. All right, so let's get into the test. Here we go. First, let's take a quick look at the three drones in this test. First up, we have the DJI Mini 2, which was released in November of 2020. It has the smallest image sensor of the three drones in this test, and the image sensor is connected to a lens that can only open to a maximum of f2.8. Due to this, the DJI Mini 2 suffers from low dynamic range. The DJI Mini 2 does not have any forward obstacle avoidance sensors, and it does not have any rear obstacle avoidance sensors, nor does it have any object tracking abilities. Sensors on the bottom include one optical flow sensor for stability and two infrared sensors for landing. The DJI Mini 2 has a very solid 10-kilometer range and 31-minute flight time. The only negative is that, unfortunately, it has DJI no-fly zones. The Hubsan Zino Mini Pro was released in September 2021. It has a very modern camera sensor and a lens that lets in plenty of light at f1.8. It does indeed have forward obstacle detection sensors as well as rear obstacle detection sensors. In addition, it has object tracking. Bottom sensors include an optical flow sensor for stability as well as a light for nighttime stability and two infrared sensors. Flight range is 10 kilometers and flight time is an impressive 40 minutes. The Autel Evo Nano series was released in January of 2022. The Evo Nano Plus has the best camera sensor of all the drones, and it has an awesome aperture of f1.9. This drone easily has the best dynamic range of all the mini drones. The drone includes forward obstacle detection sensors as well as rear obstacle detection sensors. It also includes object tracking. Bottom sensors include two optical flow sensors for stability plus an ultrasonic sensor for landing. It is currently the only mini drone on the market with a built-in cooling fan due to the high transmission rate. Range is 10 kilometers, however flight time is the least of all the mini drones at 28 minutes. So now let's see how these three mini drones actually perform on an indoor flight test. Let me explain the test really quick. Here is the landing pad, and there are a set of lights, so the landing pad is lit up brightly so the optical flow works. The drones just need to hover in place, then fly around my house and record video, and that's the test. Each drone will be scored based on the categories you see here on the left, and each category can be given a total of 3 points. All right, may the best drone win. First test is the hover test. How well can the DJI Mini 2 hover in place and not move around? The lighting is really good. The optical flow sees the lighting and locks on. It is really good. No, it's super good. Because it performed this test perfectly, I'm giving it the maximum score of 3 points in this category. Next up is the Autel Evo Nano, and it is a pretty stable drone. It locked on with its optical flow to the landing pad thanks to all the light in the room, and it did a pretty good job. However, from what I observed, it is not as stable as the DJI Mini 2, and for that reason I cannot give it 3 points out of 3 points, so I gave it 2.5 points. Next up is the Hubsan Zino Mini Pro, and there's already a problem. It did not fly straight up. This is what I observed.
No obstacle avoidance mode. Please fly with caution. Vision fever.
I had to fly the Hubsan Zino Pro back over the landing pad so that the optical flow could lock onto the landing pad and keep the drone still. For the most part, as the optical flow found the landing pad, it stayed in place, but I did not find it to be as stable as the DJI Mini 2 or the Autel Evo Nano Plus. Now, I did encounter one problem. As I turned my back on the drone, it suddenly started to drift over my couch, as you see it here. And you can see there's the landing pad, and here's our drone over there. I have no idea why this occurred. However, this does not bode well for the Hubsan Zino in getting points. So for that reason, I can only give it 1 point out of 3. For this next test, I'm testing how straight the drone flies indoors. In other words, when I move the joysticks left or right to make the drone go left or right, does it actually respond correctly, or does it drift to the right or the left when I don't want it to drift? So for the DJI Mini 2, it is outstanding. With that optical flow, it is locked in, so it gets top marks. 3's the max, and I gave it 3 points. Next up is the Autel Evo Nano, and I thought it was going to be just as good as the DJI with its optical flow, but nope, watch this, it starts to drift to the right. The optical flow did not lock it in place on the ground, it allowed it to drift. So for that reason, I unfortunately cannot give it the maximum points of 3, but it's doing quite a good job here that I can't give it low points either, so the best I can give it is 2.5 points out of 3. This brings us to the Hubsan Zino Mini Pro. We already saw it had some optical flow problems, so yep, it's gonna drift all over the place. I'm trying to get it down the hall, and it's gonna want to drift into the walls. Every chance it gets, there we go, off to the right, and then, whoa, let's get around that, whoa. So yeah, it's not doing as well. It's easy to control for someone like me who's been flying drones forever, but if you're a beginner, you might actually hit the walls by overcompensating as it's drifting. So for that reason, I cannot give this drone 3 out of 3, but I gave it a 2 out of 3. Now have a look at the remaining categories. The best image, no horizon tilt, no jello, and ease of flying indoors. We are going to test them all with this one shot. So first up is the DJI Mini 2. This is the image coming from the DJI Mini 2. I can already tell you it's not that great. It probably looks good to your eyes, but wait until you see its competition. It shows the brights, it shows the darks, but it does not show any detail in between. As a matter of fact, check this out. This is me standing in front of a window. Can you tell it's me? I just look like one big shadow. So the weakest point on the DJI Mini 2 is the camera. However, everything else about the DJI Mini 2 is awesome. So for that reason, I'm giving the camera 1.5, and everything else receives the maximum score. Now we jump over to the Autel Evo Nano Plus, and you can tell right away that the image is pleasing to the eye. You can see the brights, and you can see the darks, and you can see all the detail in between. This is how a camera should take video. So the Nano is rather expensive due to the higher quality of the sensor and the lens, and this is what you get in return. Also, there's no jello, there's no horizon tilt, there's no issues, so it gets good points all around. Here's the window test, and well, you can make out that it's not just a shadow, and you can make out there's more than a window, like there's a door, there's some walls, an outlet, a camera on the ground, tables. So yeah, you can see dynamic range is quite high on this drone. Now in order to give it a score, I had to compare it to the DJI Mini 2. So on the right is your DJI Mini 2, and on the left is the Autel Evo Nano Plus. See the difference? The Mini 2, everything is dark or bright, and on the Autel Evo Nano Plus, you can make out all the details in between. It looks really good. And watch when we get back to that window test, I'll show you it right here. You're gonna see that, yeah, on one side it just looks like windows and nothing much else because everything's black. And of course on the Nano you can make out the windows and things around it as well as the person a little bit. So for that reason, since there was no jello either or horizon tilt or any other issues, I gave maximum points of 3 all around. Next up we have the Hubsan Zino Mini Pro, and you know what? I was actually surprised with the image because it does have a really good sensor, And the image quality is definitely better than the DJI Mini 2. However, I do not find it to be as good as the Autel Evo Nano Plus, because although the image is good, it lacks a bit of contrast detail to make the image pop, which the Autel Evo Nano Plus has. Here's the window test, and the window test is really good on the Hubsan Zino. I think it's almost as good, if not better, than that on the Autel Nano, which was super surprising. Now, in order to assign points to the Hubsan Zino Mini Pro, I had to compare it against the Autel Evo Nano Plus. Take a look at both images. The Autel Evo Nano Plus is on the left, and you'll see it has more contrast in the image to make the image pop more than that of the Zino Mini Pro. For that reason, I left the Evo Nano Plus at the highest of points, but the Zino Mini Pro, I did give it pretty good points too, especially because of this window test. I think the window test on the Zino Mini Pro almost looks better than that of the Autel Evo Nano Plus, which is outstanding. So the Hubsan Zino Mini Pro received 2.5 points out of 3 for best image, and it also received 1.5 points out of 3 for indoor flight ease of use. The results are that the Autel Evo Nano Plus takes first place, followed by the DJI Mini 2, and followed by the Hubsan Zino Mini Pro. Now you'll notice one of the items I did not test indoors was the prop noise, because these drones all sound very similar. The only difference in noise is that, well, it's all noise. The only difference is the pitch. One will sound lower or higher than the others. As a matter of fact, let me show you. Watch this. Alright, so that's my indoor comparison. If you haven't seen the outdoor comparison, go and check the links below this video to get the link to the outdoor comparison. So you see from the indoor comparison video that, you know, like the old DJI Mini 2's not a bad drone. It did quite well, and it got an awful lot of points from me that brought it very close to the Autel Evo Nano Plus. Obviously, the Nano Plus has a better camera, and of course it has tracking and obstacle avoidance and all those other cool things that the Mini doesn't have. But right now, the Mini is at a very good price, because the Mini is going to be discontinued this year, late this year, because the Mini 3 is coming out. So yeah, if you don't have a Mini 2, you might want to get one soon. So with all of that said, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have comments on my test, well, post them below and let me know what you think. And go watch part 2 and stay tuned for future videos of really cool drones and comparisons coming up. Take care. Catch you in the next video. Bye.